So the title for chapter 26 actually comes from my friend Lee. So Katie, who made the artwork, Katie's partner, Lee. So one day, just a couple of ideas of names that made sense for the record. Lee just walked in the room and just said to Katie, "What about chapter 26?" and then walked away. Me and Marty were both just like, yeah, that's it. It just made so much sense, because you think of the journey from the first track all the way to the last story, and it's a story throughout my life all the way up to the 26th chapter right now, Pretty much every single track that was written and recorded was in the past year. It's very much what I always try to do is just tell my story, and usually what's going on for me at the time is I go in and I write about it. Whatever's going on, whatever I'm thinking about the most, whatever means most to me at the time. When I thought about making this project, I wanted it to be value-based. I wanted each track to highlight my values in life and where I'm at now, and each track was at that point in my journey, and you can hear that, and it reflects in the songs. It's always about how do I tell this story in a different way that I've told before. For one of the tracks for Father's Eyes Interlude, that was written just before my son was born. It's different to Father's Eyes, which was written after my daughter was born and about becoming a father and all this, and then Father's Eyes Interlude, introduction to my next time becoming a father for the second time. So I had different writing processes for each of them than I usually have. Each track, there was an intention of setting up the next one, like, oh, this is going to go here, and then I didn't write the song and go, all right, now I'm going to write this song and it's going to relate to this song. It was like I said, I literally just wrote about what meant most to me, and it came out that way. Each song sounds like it sets up the next one, because I'm always just going in and speaking about what means most to me and different parts of my story, and I can always put those stories together to create a timeline, I think even when we first made Statistic, it sounded like an intro song. And for me, I intro in that song, we're starting with picture yourself being 10 years old. I was around 10 or 11 when I started writing, when I started making music. When I first started giving rap a go. That's where a lot of things started for me, being 10 years old and also thinking of potentially ending up in prison one day, It's a different experience as a young black man to think those things, and it's not a normal thing that kids should be thinking. Through that, I wanted to speak about my experience with that, and then I wanted to speak about some of the statistics that we do face as Indigenous men in this country. But I also wanted to highlight where they come from, because we didn't have prisons before colonisation. We didn't have drugs and alcohol before colonisation. All of these things were introduced to us. I think it's only fair that when we bring up the statistics like that we also highlight and shine a light on where those come from and why. And it's like, why do we fall in those statistics? It's like, that stuff was planned. It's no mistake that we are the highest rates of incarcerated people in the world. There's no mistake that we have some of the highest suicide rates in the world. It's no mistake that we have some of the highest health risks in the world. That's all stuff that was planned, and I wanted to highlight that. That's a big part of my story as a young person, because it's stuff that kids shouldn't be thinking about. Kids shouldn't have to think about all that stuff, And then going into Father's Eyes, a big statistic is that we're not good fathers. Black men globally is a statistic that we're not good fathers, Indigenous men. For me, it was like carrying on the story of not wanting to become a statistic and almost becoming a statistic, because when my daughter was born and not really being there as much as I wanted to be, I could have easily ended up in jail. I could have easily died young. I could have easily gave in to suicidal thoughts and all these things that I'm speaking about in Statistic. So to go into Father's Eyes and speak about that, but also speak about breaking that cycle, it's kind of like I intro with Statistic and then I go into about how breaking that cycle and not becoming that statistic. And then jumping on with Stan Walker and having that yarn with him about fatherhood and breaking that cycle and all those things that we could just relate so much to being Indigenous men, and having his perspective and bringing his energy into the song. It brought that track to life. I wrote that before my son was born. I wrote it when he was on the way. I started that track with his heartbeat while he was still in his mum. Was at a midwife appointment, and we heard his heartbeat for the first time, and I jumped up and I recorded it, and I was so glad that I recorded it. I didn't know where I was going to use it. I didn't know what I was going to, like, I just knew I wanted to record it, because I remember with my daughter, I remember the first time I heard her heartbeat, and it was like, that's the first feeling I got, like, all right, this is real. Like, she's in there, you know? And I think with my son, I didn't want to miss that opportunity. And then to be able to put that in a song, you know, I get to keep that forever, you know, and my son gets to listen to that. I wanted to speak to my son about things that I wish someone spoke to me about, you know, and I wanted to speak to my son and tell him, you know, this is what I went through, and this is the stuff, the challenges I faced, and this is the stuff that I think you should be aware of, so that if you're ever faced with any of these circumstances, you know Dad's been through this, you know that, you know, you got someone to come and speak to about this stuff. Because for me, we just had to figure it out. We didn't know how to deal with suicide, you know, we didn't know how to deal with drug addiction, we didn't know how to deal with mental health, we didn't know how to deal with domestic violence and all these things. It's like, no one's there to tell us how to get through that stuff. And in the song I speak about, you know, I tell my son that you're going to lose some friends in life, either to crime, like going to jail, or you're going to lose some friends to suicide, or and it's like, that's a harsh reality. I hope he doesn't go through, but I never thought that I would have had to go through that either. But, you know, it's such a common thing that it's like, it's something that I feel I have to prepare my son for. I speak about that, and I speak about being a young black man and feeling at times that people are against you, and feeling at times that people want to see you fail. And because that's the black experience, you know, is feeling like you're set up to fail, or feeling like you don't belong in places where people succeed. Back to being a statistic, like you think that that's what your future is supposed to be. And then we go into Lifetime. It's pretty much based with me meeting my partner, who I have my son Jacob with, and proposing to my partner as my now fiance, and growing that family. This is a point now where, you know, I've spoken about being a statistic, spoken about becoming a father again, and then this part was really about me. All right, now I'm at a point where I've started to grow my family, and I'm, you know, I've got my partner, and I've got these goals, and I've got like a different lens on where I see myself going and what I want for my life. Before that, we had Miss Kanina jump on that track, and I've heard Miss Kanina sing, you know, and I think a lot of people haven't heard her sing, and they know her for her raps. And listening to her sing, she's got such a powerful and amazing voice. So I knew it would be different for her and different for the track. And when she sent through that first demo, it was like straight away, it's like, yeah, that's it, like, done, you know, like it was perfect. And I was in London at the time, so that was produced by Turkish over in London, and he sent me over the beat, and we laid down my verses in London, and then when I come back, jumped in the studio with Miss Kanina, and yeah, she just really brought that to life, and just made it sound so beautiful, you know. So after Lifetime is Ride For Me. Ride For Me is one of my favourite tracks on the project. There's something about Ride For Me that I think is quite different. I am a bit more melodic in the chorus, and it's kind of one of my first cracks at like giving it a bit of a singy like type of chorus, or where it's not just pure just me just rapping. And it was like over beautiful keys, and you know, JT, who's executive produced the EP, he, you know, made it just like so beautiful, that track. Having Zia Jade on it just tied in together, and you know, with the vocals, and just make it like that much more beautiful, just really brought it to life. But that track for me was about like being at this point in my career and thinking like, who's really riding for me, you know, who's really beside me at this point in my life, that's not just about the money, or that's not just about, you know, because I'm getting a name for myself in the music industry, and where I am at in my career at the moment, with having some still sort of insecurities and doubts in myself, and then but to have so many beautiful fans tell me that they love my music and all this stuff, like it's hard to take in. Still at a point where I'm like, I pinch myself sometimes. I'm like, is this really real? Like, you know, like, and you know, you just get beautiful messages, and you get like, it's hard to fathom that I have people out there like that, you know, that I have, because this has been a dream for me since I was a kid, you know, and I was one of those, you know, diehard fans of artists. I know how it feels to look up to artists, and then to know that there's so many young people especially looking up to me, it's like, it's a crazy feeling. So yeah, that's Ride For Me. Time I speak about, you know, valuing my time and where I'm at, and really being conscious of this time that I have right now. And we have Odyssey on the feature for that one, which was hectic to get him on the track. His stuff I can really relate to with his stuff, you know, and his music is massive, and his story, I got to sit down and hear his story when I went on. I supported him for his Sydney show here at the Red Rattler, and to hear his story, I could relate to his story a lot as well. I mean, in different ways, and just to spend time with him as well was pretty sick. So time was, for me, was just reflecting on the time that I'm at now. Warriors and Storytellers ties everything in together, you know. I speak about all that, but I speak about the year that I've had, this 26th chapter of my life. I really speak about, you know, the 26th chapter, and you know, I start off with, I just had me a good year and I doubled up on my funds, you know, and it's like, it's kind of a celebration track. I speak about a lot of the stuff that I've been through and the struggles and all that stuff, but this past year has been one of the biggest and happiest times of my life since I was a kid. I'm at a point now where I pretty much have so much that I've asked for, you know, stuff, not even that I've asked for, stuff that I envisioned for myself, stuff that I sat up every night before I went to bed as a teenager and literally just envisioned myself, you know, dreamed to be at this point, and now I'm literally living my dream. So much of the stuff that I used to just envision for myself is playing out in reality now. So yeah, I wanted to highlight that and celebrate that in Warriors and Storytellers. And then, you know, we finish off with a bonus track, Reflection. I named that track, and that's pretty much exactly that. It's a reflection of everything that I've touched on. It's a reflection of where I'm at today, and you know, I finish off with saying, you know, I think about the past and how it seems so distant, but one quick mistake would take me back in the instant. Saying like, yeah, I've made it through all that, and yeah, I'm at a point now where I'm doing good in life, but one quick mistake and I can be right back to the life that I used to live, you know, and it's that simple, it's that easy. That's my reflection for that track. I think everything just sets itself up. Everything sets up the next. This whole project for me, like, I've been super proud of this whole project for the consistency. It's a project that I've put my heart into, and each track means so much to me, and each track you can literally see each point in my life and where I've been and where I've come from, and listening to it all, like, it takes me back to certain points in my life. I just remember those emotions, and I remember those feelings, and I remember where I was at that point, and it makes me see and remember how far I've come. So yeah, I'm super proud of this one. Katie, who's done the artwork for this, has just killed it. All these photos are from over the past, like, you know, through the 26 years of my life. This one's in the alleyway just down there, like my first ever music video when I was like 14, 15. That's me and my mum when I was a baby. It's me and my daughter, you know, it's like, this is me and my family now, you know, like she's captured everything so well and put it all together in such a good way, and yeah, she always kills it with the visuals. I'm really proud of Katie with this one as well, and what she's pulled together for this one. Each track is like so personal because I feel like they're so intertwined, you know, and I think it goes back to time when being conscious of my time, you know, because I wasn't before I had kids. All the time that I wasted before I had kids, to where now I'm like, I really value my time, you know, and I value the time I get to come to work and make music. I heard Odyssey speak about this, and I asked him this question. I said, how do you balance work and life? He called it time privilege. He goes, you know, very lucky that I get to have 6-hour work days. He goes, I get to go into the studio, but I also get to do school drop off and school pickups, you know, and he's like, my work enables me to do that. And I asked him about traveling and stuff, because I get guilt, you know, for having to go to London for 2 weeks. So I get feel guilty for going to Melbourne for 2 days, or, you know, stuff like that. And he goes, you know, like, I'm away for 3 months at the moment. He goes, but I have to go away for 3 months to be able to be there for school pickups and school drop-offs and those. And it made me think, you know, like, because I do school drop-offs and I do school pickups, that's always been a massive thing for me, is I never want to be that father that my kids grow up and say dad was never there. You know, dad was too busy with work. You know, my family always comes first. I do work quite a lot, you know, and I do get quite busy, but you know, I'm always there for school pickups and I'm always there for school drop-off. My work times is usually while kids are at school. You know, my life revolves around my kids, unless I have to go away, because I know life's too short, you know, to spend it all just working, you know, and my family inspires my work. That's how I balance my personal and my work. And I first started dropping music. My school got behind me, friends from different schools that got behind my music, and pretty quick everyone just knew me as Kobie D. I've always been known as Kobie D. Everyone knew me as a rapper, and I just don't think anyone knew that I'd take it this far, So as a young fella, like, people just knew my music. People knew, I was also one of the only rappers out here, in the southeast, and it was all southwest rappers, It was always Curses and stuff, and Campbelltown ways, and Western Sydney. And so for me it was like no one was really doing this in the southeast. So much of my neighborhood just got behind me, and people encouraged me to keep doing it. There are a lot of people that laughed at me too, because there was no money in this at that stage. When I was young, there was no rap stars, you had Hilltop Hoods and Bliss Nesso and Briggs and stuff, but it was not like it is now, to where there's so many artists making careers. The people that did get behind me, that was my encouragement, and that was always my neighborhood. I was doing little performances here in my neighborhood. I did a talent show out here in front of Lexo shops when I was younger, and I always love giving back to my community, because my community's always encouraged me, and my community's always been there. And also, we've been through so much as a community. Mental health, suicide was a big thing, we've lost so many young people here in our community, and that's always brought us together. When someone would pass away, we'd see everyone from the community together. People that we hadn't seen in years, or people that we used to hang out with, it just always bring us together. And we need to start getting the communities together for positive reasons. We need to start seeing everyone together happy. We need to start seeing everyone together and really build back what it means to be a community. The way that society is at the moment, and the way that the world is at the moment, we're so encouraged to not be like that, and to make it and move out of your neighborhood. And we're so encouraged to leave and start a new life, and get out of your comfort, all that. For me, it's I understand that this is my neighborhood, and I think for me there's just that responsibility to stay here and give back to my community the way that my community gave to me. Especially now, this is my son's country, this is my partner's country. This is Bidjigal country. For me, it's the most beautiful country out here. I just love my community so much.